Welcome to The Culture. We rest at the pulse of the community, providing all things news, media, fashion, events, and everything that we talk about in between. Documenting our Black powerful history and amplifying our Black voices, one interview at a time. We are The Culture.
I'm ready to start. What about you? Yes, let's go. I'm not sure if you noticed who is joining me on the stage, but the two women to my right are standing on money. The Lord knew what he was doing when he put this money green on me, and it sat me next to these two women who are all about the Benjamins. I think it's so important as business owners when we're talking about starting, when we're thinking of scaling, it comes down to the dollars and cents. It really, really does. But I want to start this panel with, what does standing on business mean to you? What does standing on business mean to you? And I'm going to turn this microphone on for you, Linda.
All right. Thank you so much. You know, the culture here in South Florida, sometimes we get a bad rap, but sometimes it's true. We don't follow up. We say one thing and do something else. Standing on business is do what you say what you're going to do, walk in excellence, call folks back, don't make promises you can't keep, follow up, follow up, follow up. And like I always say, walk in excellence. Make sure you're in the room and show up. Don't RSVP for everything and then you don't show up to anything. You have to be in the room. And people will recognize you. People will realize. People will say, she mean business. She's always here. She's on time. And she does what she says. So that's what it means to me, your character.
Nice, nice. And Terry, there's a microphone right next to you. Is it on? Mike, can you come and help?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
Okay.
So standing on business, what does that mean to you?
So first of all, Jessica, thank you for inviting me to be here and all of you for being here this morning. So for me, standing on business means freedom. And it's really important for me to be here. I was actually admiring this pillow and the use of a fish, and the fact that we do need to teach ourselves to fish. Because what that will do is it'll generate money within our community that we can then reinvest in our community and be able to be free. Freedom costs. And so that's one of the things that it means to me. I think the other thing that for me it means is really about teaching each other how to make money. And I'm going to say that because a lot of us think we know, but, you know, and we see people with money, but really, how do you make money? And I think that's the other thing that's standing on business, because in order to be successful in business, you have to make money. So. Yeah.
I'm going to take this to my next question, Terry, because as a founder of a bank, I don't think that in my 53 years of living, I have ever thought of meeting someone who started a bank. So I encourage every one of you, I'm not trying to create a problem for Suzanne, but every single one of you should at a minimum just say hello to Terry before you leave, because I don't think that we have ever even conceptualized the possibility of what you have within you. I don't know if you know that the world is waiting on you to be you, and the you that you are, Terry, is so impressive to me.
Hey, Miami-Dade voters, the November 5th, 2024 general election is almost here. Don't wait until Election Day to vote. Vote in person today at any of the 33 early voting sites. Make it quick and easy by reviewing your customized sample ballot before you head out. Print it or snap a pic and make your selection so you're ready. Check your sample ballot and find the most convenient early voting site with live wait times at miamidade.gov/early voting or call 311.
Rosie Cordero Stutz's past behavior is troubling. Rosie defied a judge's order and refused to show up to court. A judge sentenced Rosie Cordero Stutz to 7 days in county jail. Rosie disregarding orders, failing to follow the law. Reject Rosie Cordero Stutz and her dangerous ways.
This year, we can elect Commissioner David Richardson as tax collector, a certified public accountant who has dedicated his career to fighting fraud, waste, and abuse. David Richardson will lead with integrity. As tax collector, Richardson will improve customer service and enhance programs for residents.
Promoted 6 times by Democrats and Republicans, Chief James Reyes has earned bipartisan support to serve as our sheriff.
I'm Chief James Reyes. As the only candidate with executive leadership experience in a sheriff's office, I'm ready to lead on day one. As your sheriff, I will invest in training and accountability for our officers, create an independent public corruption unit, and deploy new technology so we can aggressively take on crime and keep our neighborhoods safe. It would be an honor to serve my hometown as your sheriff.
As a mom and small business owner, Annette Tadeo is running for clerk and comptroller to protect our tax dollars and achieve reforms. Annette Tadeo will regionalize the clerk's office, modernize technology services, and expand services to offer passport renewals. In Tallahassee, Fernandez Barquin voted for $1 billion in new sales taxes, took away our local control, and lowered wages on working families. Juan Fernandez Barquin, dangerous and reckless.
Trusted by our leaders, J.C. Planas has the trusted leadership to serve as our elected supervisor of elections. A father and husband, J.C. Plana has 15 years of experience to protect the integrity of our elections. Alina Garcia. She is plagued by scandals, was issued subpoenas as former Republican Congressman David Rivera, faces criminal investigation, and is indicted for working with Madura's corrupt government. Alina Garcia's circle, Madura money infiltrating Miami-Dade. Too cozy with corrupt politicians to serve as our supervisor of elections.
I want to know, where did that thought come from to say, I'm going to start a bank?
So, first of all, I didn't start it, so I want to say that, and that's actually one of the lessons, and probably the most important lesson that I want to leave today. I actually bought a bank. I actually bought 4 banks. And one of the things that I think we can do more of in our community is buy businesses. We talk a lot about starting startups, which is great, and there is a need for us to start businesses. But there are also businesses in our community that are for sale, you know, whether they're restaurants or barbershops or banks. Now, I bought banks years ago, to be honest, when they were cheap. And the banks that I bought had problems, which is another thing that is helpful, is to buy a business that has problems and focus on fixing those problems after you buy the business. But you can get it more cheaply if it has problems. And so literally 3 out of the 4 banks that we bought had problems when we acquired them. And we then went in and used technology, which is my second message, to improve the banks. But yeah, and most people don't even know that people own banks. Like I'm just, most people think, oh, banks, Bank of America, and who owns them. But there are actually 5,000 banks in the country, and the majority of them are owned by families. And there was a time when you can buy them cheaply. It's not the case anymore, but there are other businesses that you can buy cheaply today. Wow. So,
thank you, thank you. Linda, let's give more advice to our small businesses in the audience. What was the biggest challenge that you faced with starting your business or taking on a leadership role, and then how were you able to navigate from that?
Absolutely. I believe the biggest challenge for me was access to capital. At some point, like Terry said, it made sense for me to find like-minded people to partner with. As she said, you buy the worst house on the best block. So I started with me buying the worst apartment building, tore down from the floor down, and improving. For me, but I couldn't find access to capital. I literally got 3 people together. We all pulled money from our credit cards, maxed it out for the renovations, renovated it, bought it, and then, of course, refinanced it and pulled it out. So the biggest challenge for me was access to capital, but I didn't let it stop me, Jessica. I found a way. Yeah, it was risky. You know what I mean? We got this. Let's get some money, beg, still borrow credit card. But we found a way around it until we had a reputation and until we can go to a bank and show them what we've done. So that was a challenge, but we found a way to overcome it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I would like to take the opportunity to bring up North Miami Vice Mayor Mary Estime Irvin to the stage.
Yes.
Round of applause for coming up. And Vice Mayor, as we welcome you, we would love for you to just give us a little insight into your journey. I get a kiss? Okay, thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's a pleasure for me to be here with this esteemed panel, and I just want to give a big shout out to my sister in the public space, a servant space, none other than Councilwoman Cassandra Timothy. KT, please give her a round of applause for this beautiful initiative. So, do I start with business or my walk? Okay, so believe it or not, I have a small business. It's a consulting firm now, but before that, in 2007, I think I was working with I was working as a caseworker for HIV and AIDS, and then I decided to go ahead and start my own business. So, because I wanted the freedom, believe it or not, to do public service work. So, and I said, well, what should I do? So I'm a native New Yorker. So when I was in New York, I did a lot of temping. I did a lot of temping on Wall Street and et cetera. And so I kind of sort of understood the staffing business. And so I decided that I'm going to go into staffing. And Google was my best friend at the time, so I just Googled everything, how do I do it, what I go about. But I knew, because I'm a student of business administration, that it was important for me to have a niche. And so I decided that my niche was going to be the government, a governmental niche. So then I started looking at procurement in counties and cities, and et cetera. And one day, I actually saw a contract in Pasco County, and so I filed for that, and that was to provide staffing for nurses with children with disability that are attending public schools, and they have the nurses there. So there was a small contract. I got that. Then there was another contract asking for staffing for a school district, Palm Beach School District. So I said, okay, well, let me. I read the RFP, and I read it all and filled it in. What they didn't do is they didn't put how much staffing was needed. I didn't realize how much staffing was needed. So I did my homework. I kind of compared and contrast what happened, what other contractors had it in prior years, because every so often it's up for a bid again. So I did my little math, and then I said, okay, I'm comfortable with doing this, and I happened to be the lowest responsible bidder. And so they said, oh, by the way, you won this contract. We need about 500 employees right now to start. I was like, what? He says, well, if you want to pass it on, you can pass it on. I said, no. And so I partnered off with South Florida Workforce. And at the time, Rick Scott was the governor, and there was an initiative to make sure that the unemployment rate was low. And so there was a real push for marketing, and so I partnered up with South Florida Workforce in Palm Beach, and they gave me all of the marketing dollars, and we did a big recruitment, and I was able to staff this contract, and this was years ago, but it was a $2.5 million contract. And so this was one of my great, I guess, wins in victory. But my passion has always been public service. So after I got this contract, I was like, okay, great. I have staff now. Now I can really go and do what I want to do. And so that's how I kind of got into serving. But prior to that, I was always campaigning or helping with campaigns. I was a deputy campaign manager for a mayoral candidate in North Miami, and then I became a campaign manager for a county commissioner, which made history by becoming the first Haitian American ever elected county commissioner in the United States at the time, which was Commissioner Jean Monestine. And at the time when I was campaigning for him, other people would say, well, you should run for office, you should run for office. Oh, I love the way that you are, you should run for office. So I tried twice. Believe it or not, at the time I was living in KT's councilwoman district, and I ran, that was my first political try, when I ran to represent District 2 at the time in North Miami, that's where I was living, and I lost. And then I ran to run against a state representative, and then I lost. And then I ran again for District 3, and I said, you know what, if I lose this is it, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm put everything I have, and I fasted and prayed, and then I was blessed by the people to serve the great city of North Miami representing District 3. So this is kind of like a mirror of my political life and my business life. Right.
First of all, that was a wonderful story. And when I think about the lessons there, it really goes to the Buy Black movement, which is that we as a community need to support Black businesses. And sometimes when we were growing up, in fact, let me, because I'm older than a lot of you in this room, when we were growing up, there was this term that their ice is colder. I said that to my daughter. She looked at me like I was crazy. But when we were growing up, there was this sense that if you had a choice between a white doctor and a Black doctor, you choose the white doctor. If you have a choice between a white business and a Black business, you choose the white business because, their ice is colder. And when you think about how ridiculous that is, number one is we know we need to be twice as good. So when you think of our businesses, we're always working hard to be twice as good. And then the second is, what does that say about us as a community? There's an anti-Blackness there. And we need to not only showcase ourselves to the broader community and say, you need to support Black businesses, but we as a community need to support ourselves. So the point of the Buy Black movement and the Bank Black movement and the Build Black movement is really to say that we have successful businesses that are worthy of support.
Yes, that does deserve a round of applause. Linda, with entrepreneurship who may be struggling with financial literacy, is there any advice that you can give for them to gain better control of their finances?
Absolutely. Get yourself a plan and work your plan. Get yourself a plan. And when I say get yourself a plan, don't just fly by the hip. Don't do that. What are your short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals? Write it down. Figure it out. If you don't know it, find someone that does. A lot of people, as a financial advisor, they think you need to have a lot of money to have a financial advisor. You don't. You just got to want to have yourself a plan and work it. Succession plans. Who's going to take over? When you get tired, at some point, we want to stop trading hours for dollars. We want to be here and the business is still running. So get yourself a plan, work your plan, and keep your back office in check. Your taxes. You know what I mean? You gotta, very often small businesses want to show they don't make any money because they don't want to pay taxes. Well, guess what happens when you go try to scale up your business? The bank's going to say you're not making any money. And I know it's a double-edged sword, but go ahead, report everything you make, keep the back office in order, get yourself a plan. If you don't know it, hire professionals, get a good bank, a good financial advisor, and a good lawyer, and just walk in excellence.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Now, I would like to ask you, Vice Mayor, this, but everyone can answer it. Let's talk about work-life balance. I think that I heard Gabrielle Union say this, that, you know, there's no such thing, and I'm going to agree with her. But I will say that there is something to trying to have this perception within yourself that you said this is what work-life balance means to you. What does it mean to you, Vice Mayor?
I think I agree with some of it. That doesn't exist. But what does that look like? Just being intentional, you know, about just setting some time apart for family, setting some time apart for, you know, for work, and then some time apart, some me time, you know, being very intentional, you know, but it's really hard because when I'm on it, like this is election season for example, what is that? It's just going. There's only 19 days left. We got to push, you know, but it is important for your mental state to compartmentalize, to put those categories into, to make sure that you have that work-life balance. Mm-hmm. And for me, sometimes that's traveling. You know, I get to do that for work anyway, but, you know, to travel, some spiritual time, that's extremely important to just replenish yourself spiritually, and yeah, I guess that would be what I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I should start with I do have two children, and they're not children anymore. They're actually 30 and 28. But I've owned banks and been a business owner for their entire lives. And I do think that it is important to have balance. And you know, what that means for every individual is different. For me, it meant, you know, being active in their lives, and as well as taking time for myself. You know, I walk in the morning. I try to do it every day, and listen to music or podcasts. But I also try to make sure that I stay active in my kids' life, and I'm married, and so you know, it's important to me to have that balance. And there is, especially for women, I will say in the room, there's a tendency for us to put everyone first. I remember speaking when I was very young. Actually, I just had my daughter, and I was talking to a psychologist, and she was saying, you need to put yourself first. And I looked at her like she was crazy. I was like, what are you talking about? I have like a newborn, and I have a business and a husband, and I have, like, I'm last. You know, she was like, no. Like, you need to put yourself first. That's a really hard thing to do, and I think as women we need to make sure that we do that. Yeah.
I agree, Terry. I am single, no children, never had children, but I have 18 nieces and nephews, 18. So I'm the cool auntie. And I agree, the work-life balance is, people would say, well, Linda, you got it made, you don't have a husband, you don't have children. I don't know how mothers do it, especially single mothers. God bless you. So I try to be in all of their lives. I try to be that cool aunt to take them out. I have a ritual, all the girls, I'm the first one to take them to their first spa day. And so that helps me as well as them. I enjoy spending time. And now my life is caring for my aging mother. And so that's being difficult because she's terminal. But I do try to sneak some time away as well. I really, really, really do. I try to find joy in the little things. And I play very well alone.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think that someone asked me this last night. A gentleman came up to me and he said, what do you do? And I thought to myself, how do I want him to know who I am? Because there are some people who may remember me from the 90s and they'll say, that's that girl from the radio station. I remember she used to do the news. And then I have students who've gone on to be public servants down in Homestead, Councilwoman Patricia Faircloth, I think was her name, and she doesn't know me as a marketing executive. She knows me as her broadcast journalism teacher. I have clients who know me as the person who put out all the fires because I made everything work and no one knows all of the bad stuff that happened. But what I really wanted to tell him was, I want you to know me as a woman who can always help you to get whatever it is that you need done. So my question to you all, and this is our last question, what do you want to be remembered as?
You want to go last? Okay.
What do you want to be remembered as? Because I know that you're standing on business. You are making deals. You have broken through the ceiling in each one of your industries. While that may be great, in your heart, is it the title, or is there something else that you want to be remembered as?
Well, I can say I want to be remembered as that short, dark-skinned girl that helped everybody and pulled the next young lady. She got over the bridge, but she didn't pull the bridge up. She was out there helping other people. I'm very big on, like I got a group of women that we're all trying to develop together. I want to share the knowledge. That means so much to me. Don't hoard the knowledge. So I want to be known as that young lady that returned your call, that assisted, that said, girl, come on, I got it, or what you need, or I've done that before, let me help you. So I want to be known as the one that really reached out and helped others.
So for me, that question, I always go back to my great-grandmother. When people ask me about, so who I am, and I used to give them my resume. I used to say, sort of what you read, Harvard Business School, blah, 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 blah. But what I realized when someone continued to press me is that I am my honey's great-grandchild. And my great-grandmother, her name was Annie Coachman, but we called her my honey, was a businesswoman before that term was even coined. I'm from Indiantown, Florida. I don't know if any of you all know where that is, but it's out towards Lake Okeechobee, Pahokee, Bill Glade, out that way. And there was a railroad track, and black people lived on one side, and white people lived on the other. And my great-grandmother owned a juke joint, a penny candy store, some real estate, and a barbecue pit. And I used to follow her around. And I used to work in the penny candy store. And it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I realized the inspiration she was to me. And I say now, everybody in this room has a Mahoney in your life. All of us do. And it's important for us to recognize that person when we're alive. And I hope to be the Mahoney for all the people that are in my life. That's what I want to do.
Wow, so I guess I would want to be known as a problem solver, an honest, loyal problem solver. I want to be known as that I came on this earth and I made it a better place for everyone to live, work, and play, to live, And I probably, in my second life, I'd probably sing. Yeah, I love singing. I love music that runs in my family. So, that's something that a lot of times people don't know about me. I'm a music, I'm a part of the music ministry of my church. And so that's something else I would want everyone to know.
That. Terry, what are some things that people don't know about you?
All right. Oh, goodness. That I can't sing. Not a lick. No, I think I think most people don't know that you know, you can come from very humble beginnings. I mean, when I say I own a bank, people think, oh, she, you know, must have had money. I mean, I didn't. I went to school on scholarships, and I worked hard. And if it wasn't for really people to support me, as I hope I'm supporting others, that I wouldn't be where I am today.
Nice.
So I think that that's something that people may not know.
Yes.
I think for me, what people don't know is I'm a hip hop head. You know, people, oh, what do you like, jazz? You like, no, I like old school hip hop. So I think that's something folks may not know.
I love it. Please give all of our panelists a round of applause. I would like to ask the councilwoman to come back up, and let's grab some pictures.
The Culture is produced and owned by Hip Rockstar Media and is distributed by the Culture Media Group. It cannot be reproduced or broadcast without written consent. All rights reserved. 2020.